And the basic topic of this video is just a quick overview of like what civil liberties are. Civil liberties are all of the rights in the Constitution that really protect you against the government. Freedoms that you as a citizen should enjoy without the government taking them away from you. And a lot of these are put into the Constitution as like a direct reaction to like what the founding fathers went through with like the British government. So again, these are just like the fundamental like rights that you possess as an American citizen. So the main source of our Bill of Rights, of our civil liberties, is the Bill of Rights. And there are some parts of the Constitution that like give you some additional rights, but really we're going to focus on the Bill of Rights, which are the first 10 amendments to the Constitution that really protect like your fundamental freedoms as an American citizen. So like that's the primary source of where your civil liberties can be found. And one of the things that you need to know is that over the course of our country's history, the Supreme Court's interpretation of like who has to sort of honor the Bill of Rights has changed. So, for example, from 1789, the beginning of our country's history, through like the end of the Civil War in the late 1860s, the Supreme Court's interpretation was that the national government had to like follow the Bill of Rights, but like state government officials didn't have to protect those freedoms. And their argument was that had a lot to do with like the wording of the amendment. So, for example, if you look at the way the First Amendment begins, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or protecting the free exercise thereof. Supreme Court's argument is it doesn't say Congress and the state governments, it just says Congress. So that's how the Supreme Court sort of interprets who has to follow the guidelines of the Bill of Rights at the beginning of our country's history. It's just the national government because of the wording. So that changes in 1868. An amendment is approved or ratified, the 14th Amendment, which does a couple other things that we'll look at. But the other thing that it does is that it mentions within the amendments that nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law. We call this the due process clause because of the wording involved. But because it specifically says that states can't deprive people of life, liberty, or property, the Supreme Court changed its interpretation and changed to the belief that, like, now, okay, from 1868 on, the national government, which has always had to follow the guidelines of the Bill of Rights, would still have to. But now, because of the wording of this amendment, state governments would also have to protect your right to, freedom of religion and right to bear arms and so on and so forth. And this is known as incorporation. It's a fancy like government term that just is like the process of making the state governments also follow the guidelines spelled out in the Bill of Rights. And that's because of the wording of the 14th Amendment that is ratified in 1868.